It seems like people are more anxious, more, of course, polarized. We hear that all the time. People seem to be more unhappy. Materially, up until recently, people were doing better in America. So we had more stuff, we had more money, we had less crime, but people are not as happy. And, from your perspective, what do you think is causing this? Of all those things you've talked about, what do you think is the reason why people seem to be less happy today than they were 20 years ago or 30 years ago?
Yeah, so it's true. And so I've got data on the percentage of people that say that they're thriving. And I can look at it. I don't look at it during the coronavirus epidemic because you get these radical dips in happiness, given the fact that people are living under unusual circumstances. So that's an outlier. So don't even put that in. But if you look at just from right before the financial crisis until a year or two ago, you'll find a secular decline in the percentage of people that say that they're thriving, which is a good way. Gallup does this to measure how happy people are. And at the same time, every income group has been increasing in purchasing power, which is the way you want to look at it. And people want to cook the data. A lot of people out there that want to say the rich are getting rich and the poor are getting poor. It's a lie. It's completely not true. And so you look at purchasing power, and it's radically increasing. So, for example, a person at the 10th per income percentile in America today has the same living space as a person at the 50th percentile in 1980. I mean, you were alive in 1980. It wasn't that long ago. And so that's the 50th percentile has gone to the 10th percentile. And that's in living space, not to mention all the conveniences of life. And, there are very, very few calorie deficits and just all this stuff about life. And yet thriving has been decreasing. So the key thing to look at, and the diagnostic mechanism, is to look at the portfolio of happiness and what's going on: faith, family, friends, and work. We have all kinds of, we have made it harder. The number of people who say that they have no religion at all has gone from about 6% to 36% since the 1970s. And again, maybe they're substituting Stoic philosophy for it, or something that is a good substitute. But for a lot of people, what you find is there's this ennui. There's this kind of sense of emptiness that when you talk to people that they have, because they don't have this transcendental sense, whether it's prayer, meditation, or philosophy. There's just less of that for young people. That's number one. Family. More and more people are estranged from their families. Today, 44% of people are completely estranged from a family member, 17% from a direct family member, which means a sister or brother, a child, or a parent. I mean, literally not talking. 17%. 1 in 6 Americans has stopped talking to a family member because of politics. So wow. It's insanity. So that's a big source of unhappiness. Friendship. You find that we have this epidemic of loneliness. I just had my podcast, a woman named Norina Hertz, who's got this new book out. It's a big bestseller all across Europe and coming to the States now. And she talks about the data that show that people are lonelier than they've ever been. I mean, and there's a bunch of reasons for it. She sort of thinks that, the government should be building more parks or something. But no, I think that, social media is fueling a lot of our loneliness. I think there's a whole bunch of, interpersonal reasons that modern life is doing this. And then work. People are not thinking about their work in the right way. They're not thinking vocationally about serving other people in work. And so when all these dimensions are going the wrong direction, you're actually going to see prosperity increasing and happiness declining.
Do you think this is connected to materialism? Because obviously in this country, in many democratic free countries, we have this great markets that produce what we want. We can get more and more of it, and of course, it's part of sales and marketing to tell you need this product, you need this thing, it's going to make you happy. We've been told this now for decades. And so do you think it's part of materialism where we're just so obsessed with more stuff because that's what we think is going to do it, and so we're forgetting everything else?
Yeah, it goes back to Aquinas: money, power, pleasure, fame. It's basically, instead of faith, family, friends, and work, it's money, power, pleasure, fame. People are looking for the easy fix and going for the idols. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that we're really due for a big spiritual renewal in this country. And it happens. We go through these cycles. There's nothing new under the sun. People who say that we're in secular decline, America's got its worst years, ahead, its best years behind us. I don't believe it, because I've actually seen these cycles where people go into kind of a spiritual funk where their happiness, their thriving declines. They're at each other's throats. You get a lot of this like crazy political populism from both sides, where we're encouraged by leaders to hate each other and be afraid of each other. And then you get this backlash where people are like, no, I refuse to be unhappy. And that's when you get people who get more interested in religion. People get more when they start falling in love more. I mean, Sal, consider this. People who are in their 20s today are a third less likely to be in love than people were when I was that age. I mean, you basically have people that are they're shutting themselves off from the most important single source of human happiness, which is long-term romantic love. I don't think I have to tell you, you're a happily married man and me for 30 years. And the idea that I would be in my 20s and not dating and not in the market and not trying to lock down is just, it's really, really unthinkable. But that's kind of what we've got going on. Our values are ready for a complete disruption. And we need happiness entrepreneurs. And, that's what you are, by the way. The nice thing about it is, people come, I've talked to people who listen to Mind Pump. Why did I go to Mind Pump? Because I wanted my fitness routines to get better. And you guys had a really good reputation. And I stayed with it because I felt happier when I was listening to you guys, and you were talking about, just the banter for the first 45 minutes of the show is like, yeah, I tried this thing. And it's like, did you see that movie? Actually, it was weird. The craziest thing was I was listening to Mind Pump in the gym back in the old days when we could all go to the gym before I met you, about 3 months before I met you, 4 months before I met you for the first time. And you were talking about my movie. It was the craziest thing. That really made me happy. But you're a happiness entrepreneur. I mean, you're a guy who's going in through the back door of fitness to help people understand that they can have a better, more fulfilling life. And that's why the first 45 minutes are stuff like, transcendental things and family, and you're talking about your friends, and it's good. There's a reason it works.